What is happening there, boys and girls, channel subs, RC enthusiasts from around the world? My name is Jim. My channel is RC After Dark, and we are out in the RC workshop doing an unboxing video on a used Traxxas Trx4m High Trail Edition Ford F150 pickup. And I'm sure you guys and gals are wondering, why am I doing an unboxing video on a used Trx4m High Trail Edition, and what makes this vehicle so special? Nothing really, and I'm actually surprised that you guys are even here. But this was given to me from a channel subscriber, and as a birthday gift / donation to the channel. So that's what makes the vehicle special, and that's why we're going to do a proper unboxing video on it, just to honor that person, as well as check out the vehicle and, you know, see what kind of condition it's in. I was told that it was in pretty good condition, but you know, it's over a year old, so you never know what you're going to get. So let's check her out here. This vehicle actually had one heck of a journey getting here. Before we get started, Amy and Hobbies stickers here in the front in a partnership program with Amy and Hobbies and AvantLink. Love these guys. Not getting paid to say that. Only way that I would ever get any kind of income out of Amy and Hobbies is if you guys and gals follow links below in the information area and decide to purchase something from Amy and Hobbies. It doesn't matter what link you follow. If you followed a link for an SCX24 Jeep JLU and ended up seeing a Kyosho Blizzard and decided to buy that, or a Tamiya Volvo A60H, or another kind of SCX24, or a screwdriver, or a little thing of grease, or whatever, it would give me a very small percentage of the sale, which doesn't cost you guys and gals any more money. It would come from the manufacturer directly. So more of a finder's fee for bringing you guys to Amy and Hobbies. So if you guys are interested in anything, if you want to support the channel, follow the links through the information area below to Amy and Hobbies and have at it. That would definitely help me out, no doubt about it. All right, so doing an unboxing video once again on a used Traxxas Trx4m High Trail Edition vehicle. Let's check her out here and see what she looks like. We'll grab a knife here and open up the box. The vehicle had a hell of a journey on the way here. This thing was actually shipped out on January 24th. My birthday is on February 25th. He was sending it out early. He shipped it out on January 24th, and it didn't make it here until February 26th. I actually gave up hope on it. I've had the postal inspectors do like an inspection on this package twice. Once starting on February 4th and ended on February 12th, and then I had them do another search on it after that, which ended on February 19th, and they sent me a letter stating that the package was irretrievably lost. So good luck. Was the moral of the story. They washed their hands from it, considered the package to be lost on February 19th, and then it showed up out of the blue on February 26th. So thank God for that. Can't wait to see what this baby looks like on the inside. I've been looking at him online here for the last month, just waiting for this thing to show up. Not too sure of a good spot to open this up at. I don't want to damage the box on the inside. Trying to find an open seam here that you guys can't see at all. Covered in tape. So yeah. Knife is not sharp. Not good. Let's find a sharp knife. Or another knife. Take another stab at it. Alright, we're through something here. Getting into it a little bit. Oh, I see a price tag on it. Just happened to get lucky here and open it up on the price tag side of things. Price tag right here in the corner. Kids, be careful with knives. If you're not a careful kid, have your parents open things up for you. Kind of takes the fun out of things. Actually, like Christmas Day. Oh, I just ripped the box. This tape took a little bit off the box. That sucks. Well, that kind of ruins the retail factor on that. All right, make sure to put the knife away before we get too carried away. She is wrapped up in there good. The blue one, that is a nice looking vehicle. I had a blue step-side Ford that was very similar to this, except it was a 79 with round headlights. It should have had square headlights, but it had round headlights and had a step-side bed on it. And 36-inch groundhog tires with the 351 modified motor. And a custom paint job from somebody named Dr. Rue. So let's get this thing situated. Take a look at the box, see what everything looks like, and we'll get her cracked open and see what it looks like in person. All right, let's get our camera moved around here a little bit, and we'll get our truck in a kind of more of a position where we can read all this stuff. So F150 Ranger XLT, original price here of $174.99. I believe they're going for $179 right now, so they bumped up the price a little bit since this person had purchased it. Scale and trail crawler, 1/18 scale, Traxxas. Bummer that I ripped the box right there. I'm kind of bummed out about that. Looking at the next side, we'll bump the flash on here for a second. Well, maybe we won't. It's kind of bright there. Just showing the different models that were available, black, blue, and brown, and some of our warnings over here on the other side. Otherwise, not much important on that side. Next side of the box, once again, same thing. Ranger XLT, High Trail Edition, Scale and Trail Crawler, 1/18 scale, Traxxas. Next side, we've got the blue one and we've got the black one. I like the blue one, personally. The blue truck that I had that I was talking about previously was more of a metallic blue. So not quite the same color, but I still dig it. It's sharp, no doubt about it. Moving on to the next side of the box. What do we got over here? Extended steel frame rails leading out to our front bumper. We have a 45-degree steering angle or turning radius. A Traxxas Titan 180 87 turn brushed motor. Heavy-duty micro steering servo. And it appears to have some metal gears in there, but I'm not too sure what those are made of. Oil-filled GTM shocks. They don't tell you how many millimeters they are. At least they haven't so far on the box. We have a ECM 2.5 electronic control module. That's a mouthful. So this is a ESC and receiver all in one. Your ECM 2.5 electronic control module. Extended trailer hitch included. Was cool that they include a trailer hitch period, but let alone being extended, probably because it's a high trail edition. Factory installed LED lights. That's cool, but not cool. They don't include taillights, just headlights only. So kind of a bummer that they don't include taillights. Most of the SCX24s, or at least to my knowledge, maybe all of the SCX24s, don't include headlights either. They just have lights in the bumper and no taillights. I said headlights, taillights. Without having taillights on your vehicle, guys and gals, as soon as you start driving at night and the vehicle starts to drive away from you, as soon as the back of the vehicle passes you, things get darker and darker and darker and darker, and you start to lose total definition as to where your vehicle is. So without having taillights on your vehicle, you really don't have any definition or orientation with your vehicle. If you're going to be filming at night or driving at night, you absolutely have to have taillights in order to have definition as to the orientation of the vehicle when you're driving around. So taillights are an absolute must. Traxxas gets your whistle wet with the headlights. For an additional $25, you can get a Traxxas factory complete LED kit. Does not include rock lights, no rock lights, just headlights and taillights, which are getting their commands via one wire from your ECM. You slow down, brake lights come on. So a mere $25, you can get a full set of lights for it, but it's a bummer that Traxxas does not include it. Moving on to our battery. 2S lithium polymer battery and USB charger included. 750 milliamp lithium polymer battery. That's less than an amp. That's 0.750 with ID connector. So ID connector, that's kind of a bummer about that. I'm looking at this ECM right now, and I think that's where our battery is going to get plugged into. And that's a 3-wire connector. And that is really, really odd that they have that on there. Just about every other electronic speed controller around the world has a 2-wire connector, just positive and negative. Traxxas is throwing out this 3rd wire on here just to pigeonhole you into using Traxxas batteries, as well as a Traxxas charger. Not too sure on the connector on this, but if it doesn't have a balanced connector on it, that means that you're going to be forced to buy a Traxxas ID charger, a full-size ID charger, if you ever want to put a storage charge on this battery. Otherwise, you're just going to be pigeonholed into charging only, and you won't have the ability to put a storage charge on it, which seriously prolongs the life of your battery. So new style, I mean, this has an ID system on it, so I'm not too sure if Traxxas has changed their stuff around. Spectrum, the company Spectrum, they have smart technology batteries, which have this little circuit board dealy deal on the front of the battery. And if you charge up this battery, it's covered in drywall dust, if you charge up the battery and you don't use it within 2 days, the battery will bring itself back down to a storage level, a safe storage level. Now, it's always recommended to put the battery back on your charger to make sure that it does have a proper storage charge on it. But nevertheless, it does have that little safety feature on it where it will storage charge itself, which is pretty cool. Now, this is a Generation 1 smart technology battery, which has a balance port on it, or a balance plug. Generation 2 smart batteries do not. So if you're going to order a smart battery for anything, always pay attention to whether it's a Generation 1 or Generation 2. Generation 1s have balance plugs, which means you can charge that on a standard quick charger. Generation 2s or version 2s just do everything off of the main plug, and you will need a Spectrum smart charger for those. Very similar to the Traxxas system and having to have a Traxxas, or having to get a Traxxas full-size battery charger in order to put a storage charge on this battery. All right, moving on from that mouthful. Clipless body system, clipless mounting body system. That is very cool. Doing away with body clips or body mounts sticking up through the hood and back of the vehicle is huge. It just makes the vehicle look that much more realistic, not having those body pins sticking up through the top. So that's awesome that it has that. Moving on, High Trail Edition, factory installed long arm lift kit, over 35% additional ground clearance. Looking at our tires, Trx4m High Trail Edition versus the standard Trx4m tires, new larger Mickey Thompson Baja Pro XS replica tires. Now I believe that these are 64 millimeters in outer diameter. Not too sure what the stock tire is. I want to say 58 millimeters, but I'm just guessing at that. Moving on, chrome roll bar with light buckets included. No LED lights included, just the light buckets for the roll bar. $10, and you can get the Traxxas LED lights, which would be another one-wire connector. So if you want LED lights for it, for a mere $10, you can get those as well. All right, moving on. What we got here? What is left? The last half of the box. That blue truck. I love the way that blue truck looks. I think that's a very sharp-looking truck. I love the old-style Fords. I'm just Ford people around here. We're a Ford family of sorts. All right, looking at the back here, last little bit of writing. We got our Traxxas phone number and whatnot here. What's in the box? 1/18 scale Traxxas Trx4m ready to drive with 1979 Ford F150 body. TQ 2-channel 2.4 gigahertz radio system. Included lithium polymer battery and charger. ECM 2.5 electronic control module or ESC receiver. Titan 180 87 turn brushed motor. Extended trailer hitch. Quality tool set and quick start guide. Quality tool set, that's probably a couple of hex wrenches and a cross wrench. And your quick start guide is probably like a little pamphlet. What you'll need to run your model, sold separately at your local hobby store, 4AA alkaline batteries. Well, you don't need to go to your local hobby store to get 4AA alkaline batteries. You can get those from anywhere, pretty much. Skill level is 1 on this vehicle. No previous experience with radio control models is required. Model requires a minimum setup, maintenance, or support equipment. Moving on, we've got that same stuff in several different languages. French, I believe. So for all the French people, you can pause and read that if you want to. I'm not too sure. This might be Spanish. Feel free to pause and read if you want. And lastly, most likely German. Once again, pause. Pause the screen and read away. All right, that is it on that side of the box. We've got one more around here to look at. Nope, that is it. That is everything on the box. Let's go ahead and get this baby opened up. The box is already open, so we'll go ahead here and slide it open. It wasn't taped up. And what are we looking at here? An upside down vehicle. That is definitely upside down. Well, let's pull her out. Maybe it was packaged like that on purpose for traveling purposes. Oh, some screws are falling out. One screw right there. We'll put that over here on top of, well, let's put it into this tray over here so it can't get lost. All right, so we've got a manual here. Trx4m. What to do if your Traxxas model breaks. Start diagnosing the problem. Throw it in the garbage. Hit it with a basketball. Jump up and down on it. I don't know. Start working out the problem. All right, so we got a quick start guide there. Feel free to look at one of those if you get one of these. Or actually, that's part of the manual. This is the quick start guide right here. Excuse me. Quick start guide, instructions in different languages. A lot of glare there. I like that blue. It looks good here. That's for darn sure. No doubt about it. So once again, this vehicle is nothing new. It's been out for a little while, so I'm sure all you guys and gals have seen all this nonsense before. If you purchase one of them, feel free to read through it and check everything out. We have our clipless body instructions here on how to remove that and install it. A tab back by the rear bumper here, and another one right behind the front grille. Snap in, a little rubber band over top of the battery. Everything else should be relatively self-explanatory. Now, the owner of the vehicle did specify that it might not be bound up to the transmitter. So I'm not too sure why it wouldn't be bound up to the transmitter, unless he had this bound up to another Traxxas transmitter. So I'm not too sure what's going on there, but we're going to have to rebind it up to the transmitter when we get to that point. So I'm going to have to find that area in the manual. There's a picture of our trailer hitch over there. That might be a screw for the trailer hitch. I see 2 screws here for the trailer hitch. So here's our quality toolkit. We've got 1 Allen wrench, 2 Allen wrenches or hex wrenches, our cross wrench right there, and a few little shock spacers. There's our USB charger, our battery, and our hitch once again. Required 4 AA batteries. These are Traxxas batteries. You don't necessarily need those. Squeaky squeaky on the phone. Alright, well there's a look at our quick start guide. We're going to have to find how to bind this baby back up. I'm looking through it real quick here to see if I can see that. Turn on your transmitter, turn the model off, operating your model. Drive mode profiles. Yeah, might need to go into these drive mode profiles and set this up. Sport mode, a single red flash allows full forward, reverse, and braking power. Trail mode, default factory setting adds drag brake at neutral to sport mode to slow descent down hills. Crawl mode, increases trail mode drag brake at neutral to 100% for maximum hill hold. I'll probably put it over to crawl mode because we do a lot of crawling. Trail mode would be if you're like walking behind it and maybe you want to free roll a little bit more. And sport mode, probably the same thing. So we're going to have to go in there and change all that stuff. They talk about a pro scale lighting, running in wet conditions. I try to avoid wet conditions as much as possible unless we're messing around in the snow. All right, where are our bind stuff? We need to find the bind stuff. I'm getting off track here. So I think we're getting into the same thing, just in different languages. All right, so this just talks about drive modes, our low voltage detection up here. Steering trim on the transmitter over here. Turning on the transmitter, turning on the model. Always turn on your transmitter first and then turn on your model so things don't go crazy on you. Always make sure that you have good transmitter batteries. Always make sure that they're plugging in the right direction. Positive to positive, negative to negative. And life should be grand. Well, I don't think it's showing in here anything in our quick start guide about rebinding it. It does have a bind button on the transmitter. It should have a bind button on the transmitter. We should be able to find it in there. But let's take a look at our El Manual here. Let's see if we got anything in here. Warranty, limitations, other basic stuff there. I'm not really seeing anything of importance in here as of yet, other than just a bunch of legal mumbo jumbo, which is all we're looking at here in a bunch of different languages on the first few pages. And then in the back, we're going into blow-up schematics of what the vehicle looks like. Front assembly here. Chassis assembly right back here. Looking at the chassis. It's like a centerfold. Rear assembly there. And the body assembly and parts listing back here with an order form. All our stuff back there. And what's available for it. Alright, so there we go on that nonsense. Nothing on how to rebind it, so we'll have to figure that stuff out. Get our bag of goodies out here. What do we got? There is our roll bar. So the roll bar is not on the vehicle. The screws are in the bottom of the roll bar. I'm not too sure if there's LEDs inside the buckets. I don't think there is. But there is our roll bar right there. Here's our battery inside the box. Channel subscriber or viewer, friend that sent this stuff out. He's very good about keeping the parts boxes and all that stuff. So here's our battery all packaged up in the original container. pretty cool of that individual to do that and save that. This is a warning for the battery. Make sure to read that, boys and girls. Never leave your battery inside your vehicle. Always store your lithium polymer batteries when you're not using them. Always have a storage charge on them. And that's going to be hard to do on this Traxxas battery unless we actually have a Traxxas ID charger. So that's a bummer. That is a bummer. We are going to put this back. I think that is it for that spot. I don't see anything else. There's a little tube here. I don't see anything else in there, so we'll put this right back here. Get our transmitter out of the container here. And this should be our, well, that's a set button back there, but I don't know if that's the bind button at the same time. We're going to have to cross our fingers and try that. Trx4 brown Ford F150. Somebody has it labeled down here. No batteries inside the transmitter, which is good. Over here on the other side, we have our charger, our USB charger. Balance charger, but not a storage charger. That'd be nice if you could, if they could put a storage charge on with one of these things. All right, so there's our battery and there is our charger. We're going to put that stuff off to the side over here. We're going to have to get this stuff bound up and hooked up to our truck once again. We do have another little package in here. Some chrome differential covers and stapled up in the bag. So I don't know what's going on with those. The viewer did say, or my friend did say, that there was some extras in here. He told me there was some extras. Oh, we like the extras. I'm guessing this was supposed to be packed in there upside down. I'm not too sure. There is our hitch right here. No hardware with the hitch, so I'm imagining that that one screw that we found floating around is probably for this. This has been opened up, so yes, probably for that. So we're going to have to get that into a snap lock storage bag. And there's a gear set in here as well. This is a transmission low gear set. And it says here that this is the stock gear set. So he swapped out the gear set in the vehicle and put in the low gear range set for it. And here is our stock gears, essentially. All nylon or maybe Delron. I'm not too sure what they made these out of. Don't want to say what they are without actually knowing what it is. Don't want to be putting out any false information there. Seeing if that screw is going to fall out of here somewhere. That one screw that's missing in action. Try to get our truck out of here gently. There's the other screw. Right there. Alright, so there's both the screws accounted for. Our foam container accounted for. All our other stuff here. We'll find out what we're going to do with that stuff here momentarily. And that's a pretty big truck. That's bigger than what I was expecting. And I'm sure there's a that's what she said joke in there somewhere. Oh, we got a mirror here that looks like it's broken. Yes, we've got a broken mirror. Wah, wah, wah. That is broken. And it's going to need to get glued back down. Or something. So, mental note on that one. That's a bit of a bummer. Not a bad looking truck. The brown is definitely a lot darker than what I was expecting. Much darker brown than what I was expecting. This mirror is still okay. They could be fragile, these mirrors. They look like regular model car plastic on those. Let's get our camera down a little bit lower. I apologize for this. Apologize for the camera. How long has it been sitting like that for? Let's lower this baby down. Alright. Get a better view of our vehicle here. We have some foam on our tires. And no foam in the tires. The tires are foamless. They are foamless. But I heard that there might be something inside the tires. I heard that there was BBs inside the tires. Yes, there is. I can feel them down here. Here's some BBs in the tires. And that is to keep the weight on the ground. Rolling weight. and it just stays down here on the inside tires. That's a very good idea. And it feels like it has quite a few BBs from what I can feel in here. So BBs inside the tires, that's cool. Differential covers, red differential covers. They look like they have been painted red. And I know that is one of my friend's pet peeves, is he doesn't like chrome diff covers and thinks that all differential covers should be red. I can't argue with him about, how he feels about that. I feel like it's whatever suits the need for the vehicle. And if he felt like this one needed red diff covers, then that's cool. I've got vehicles that I've painted the diff covers from chrome to white. So, depends on the situation and what you think looks good on the vehicle, what's going to complement the vehicle for the most part. So, painted diff covers. Nice job there, my friend. Good job on that. So, oil-filled GTS shocks on here. Foam stuck to things. Doesn't feel too bad. Servo on axle. Don't care for the way the servo was mounted up to the axle, or up to the arm here, the linkage. Not so much the axle, but the way it's hooked up to the linkage. I just think that looks a little bit weird going to the center of that. I like having that third arm coming across, over to the pitman arm here to kind of complete that stock look. This makes it look more like a toy. And the fact that the servo is running in line kind of makes it look a little funky too. But otherwise, I mean, if that servo was flat, yes, it still looks like a toy. If the servo was mounted up in the frame and had a traditional, panhard bar kind of servo horn going down to our steering link and whatnot, I think it would look better. But has a 4-link on the front. I see that 4-link suspension system instead of a 3-link. That usually gives you a little bit more articulation and control, having the 4-link up here on the front. I've seen online high clearance links that were available for these vehicles, and I didn't think at the time that there would be much of a need for the high clearance links, just because of the way that these links come down by the drive shaft. The drive shaft hangs down further than the links do. So if you're sliding over rocks and stuff like that, I didn't think that the high clearance links were going to give these things or be much of an advantage on this particular vehicle, just because of where the links come down on these as it is. They're up pretty high, and the drive shaft is actually going to come into contact first. So adding the high clearance links on here and bumping these up to a higher position is just going to expose your drive shaft and pinion that much more. So I was looking at parts online once again and was looking at some high clearance links for this thing, thinking about getting some high clearance links. I've got some high clearance links, or have some high clearance links on my Jeep JLU right here, and you can see them. They wear the way they curve right here. And that's fine on the Jeep JLU. It's not interrupting with the drive shaft, because the drive shaft is on the top half of the ring and pinion, way up high. So these high clearance black brass links work great on this vehicle. They could actually be a little bit higher, really, and get even more clearance out of them. But on our 18 scale vehicle over here, once again the Traxxas, the way these links come down, they're just about parallel with the drive shaft. They're actually sitting up a little bit higher than the drive shaft. So once again, drive shaft is going to come into contact first before our stock links do. So putting high clearance links on here would probably be just be a waste of money, in my opinion. And here is a look at, once again, the High Trail Edition TRX4 versus my Jeep SCX24. SCX24, this is riding completely bottomed out right now. So flattened out on the suspension. This is sitting up in the air a little bit. That's completely bottomed out with this vehicle. Jeep is still a little bit smaller with the body. You can see the scale difference that this is shrunk down just a little bit more than this one is, no doubt. Not too sure about the overall width on both of these vehicles. Mine is a little bit wider, RC four-wheel drive, 1-inch wheels, running in reverse. So we're actually looking at the back half of the wheel, and I've got the hub mounted on the forward side facing of the wheel with the hex on the inside. So mounted in reverse, essentially, which is a do-it-your-own risk situation. And I learned this from another viewer and channel subscriber, Dan Weiss. What's up, Dan? Trx4m is just, yeah, is wider for sure than the little Jeep, and definitely looks a lot bigger from this angle. It's bigger for sure. Love this Jeep though. It's a beast, just like that mofo beast steering servo. It is a great truck. This is a great truck too, and we're gonna modify this one. We'll modify the heck out of it and see how good it becomes. And as well as I ordered another Trx4m Bronco, and I'm going to leave that one stock for a little while and see how that is in comparison to this one, which is going to be getting modified with metal gear transmission and different gearing on our front and rear differentials. We're going to leave our stock rear differential, but we're going with a steel helical cut gear from Muse or Mias Racing, not Muse, but Mias. And then on the front, we're going to a set of Trial 16% overdrive on the front. And they're both helical cut, as well as a bearing kit and some other things that we're going to be doing to the truck. So we're going to be making some changes to it. But it's a good looking truck, there's no doubt about it. We're just still exploring the vehicle here. Nice taillight lenses on the back. I like the aesthetics. It's a good looking vehicle. I'm sure I'm probably going to put the roll bar in the back, just because this poor mirror is falling apart here the more we handle this, so we're going to have to be careful about that. All right, so attempting to remove the body, never remove the clipless body. That's pretty easy. I just put my finger in behind the bumper and pulled back. Not too sure where it's located back here. Sure there's a joke in there somewhere. All right, it's just a little bit further in, right up here. Just a little bit further in on the back, right there. Is that lever? That's pretty cool, that clipless body. And there is the plug for our lights. And so let's move our truck out of the way. Got our camera pan back all the way. There's our clipless body mount right there, which adds some weight to the vehicle. But you know, it gets rid of the pesky body pins, and I like that. That you don't see those. I was never a big fan of body pins. They always do a good job of holding your body down, but ruins the whole scale appearance. Mirror, once again, damaged right there. So we need to put a dab of glue on that. I hate to be redundant and keep talking about that, but we have to do that. Lights, we just have headlights on the vehicle. So the light kit that I ordered comes with taillights for the vehicle. So I'm actually glad now that I ordered a light kit for the vehicle, since we'll have headlights and taillights, which is important. Taillights are a must-have when it comes to driving at night, especially filming RC cars at night. All right, so there's a good look at the body, and it is a great-looking body. I like it. I dig it. Very cool. And in great condition. I mean, other than that mirror, I'm not blaming that on the person who owned the vehicle. I think that might happen on its travels. Other than the mirror, it's in great shape. It's been handled or treated very nicely. I don't see any excessive rollover damage or any kind of rollover damage, scratches from being flipped over. I see some spots on it from water, but otherwise it's really in great shape. A little bit of dog hair there, cat hair, but that happens. Especially if you're an animal friend or have animal friends. We've got a couple sitting out over here that are sleeping on the couch currently. Couple puppies sleeping on the couch. So there we go. Great looking body. I like it. Don't necessarily care for the color, but great scale detail. There's no doubt about that. It looks like an old Ford truck. Steering servo, once again, checking that out. Sitting in here vertically. on the inside. Bushings throughout the entire vehicle. I just spied one right through here on our pinion gear going into the axle. You can see the brass. You can see that brass right there shining through, and same thing on the inside of our axle. So ordered a bearing kit for this one as well, a sealed bearing kit from Endura. It looked like a pretty good deal. That was on sale for like $13. They had Fast Eddie's bearing kit is what I was going to purchase for it. That was $26, I want to say. Little Guy Racing Parts had a bearing kit for it as well, a sealed bearing kit, and it was the same price as the Endura kit. They were both on sale for the exact same price, and they both look very similar. Oil shocks, once again, GTM oil shocks. I'm not too sure what the millimeter is on these guys from end to end. Decent articulation. A little bit stiff, all in all. Our ECM at the back here. And we've got a little easy start button. That's our on-off button, easy set button there. Once again, not too sure about binding this thing if it's out of bind. Our Traxxas 180 motor, our transmission right here. That's a pretty big motor sitting in there. I've seen other motors for it, some big block motors, brushless motors. A lot of different companies make parts for this vehicle. When it comes to buying parts for the vehicle, Traxxas or A-Main Hobbies has all kinds of parts for the vehicle. A lot of custom parts for it as well. But some other companies that you might want to check out, boys and girls, when it comes to shopping for the SCX24s and these TRX4Ms is Mofo RC, MOFO-RC. Check those guys out. Not being sponsored with any of these guys, not being paid to talk about these guys. This is just, in my personal opinion, great place to shop for parts. A lot of stuff on my SCX24 is from Mofo RC as well as Little Guy Racing Parts. So check these guys out when it comes to building a TRX4M. Look at Mofo RC. Look at Little Guy Racing Parts. Look at MEUS, M-E-U-S Racing, Endura. And then once again, A-Main Hobbies has a whole bunch of stuff, a larger selection of parts than all these guys combined. Maybe not Endura. Well, yeah. Mainly all these guys combined, but not necessarily the same line of parts. Mofo RC, good quality, good pricing. Little Guy Racing, excellent quality on a lot of the transmission stuff. MEUS as well, good quality on all that stuff. Endura, you get what you pay for, but they do have a lot of stuff and decent quality. Use your best judgment on all that stuff. Read the reviews. Always read the reviews on all these parts and accessories to make sure that you're not going to get ripped off. So, good look at the truck. It's not bad. It's a good looking truck. Peel our camera off the tripod and maybe get a better look at this vehicle here. Better look at our servo. When I was looking at this online, I just assumed that servo was mounted inside the frame. I didn't realize it was actually mounted onto the axle like that. So I don't know if I really like that or not. We'll see how this one lasts. Once again, as far as the links go, I really don't see a reason to run the high clearance links on this vehicle just because that drive shaft pinion hangs down right here below the edge of the link. So not much of a point of putting the high clearance links on this one. I just think it would be a waste of money, personally. I think high clearance links are great and they are awesome on certain vehicles, but I just don't think that they would, I think it would just be a waste of money on this vehicle. Best thing to do is to take it out for a run and see where it needs weight and where it doesn't need weight. And then you could add brass goodies here and there to tune up for that, depending on what you're doing with the vehicle. Once again, the suspension feels a little bit stiff back here. Maybe it needs a lighter weight oil, possibly softer springs. I think we might remove these spacers. There's some shock collars on right here. We might remove those just to get a little bit more movement out of that. We don't have the battery in here as of yet. Pretty hefty battery. This one right here, 750 milliamp. Once again, there's our motor, 180. Looking at our transmission. Ring and pinion. That is a traditional ring and pinion on the axles there. So I don't want to spin our drive shaft because we've got small gears here. We could possibly strip something out. On the SCX24s, you definitely don't want to try to free roll the vehicle, just because it has a worm gear bringing pinions, and you'll literally strip the teeth right off the gear if you try to free roll it. You shouldn't try to free roll any of these RC vehicles, just to keep that in mind. All right, well, that's a good looking truck. Can't thank that channel subscriber enough once again. We need to get our camera back in our tripod here, charge up a battery for this thing. All right, I have not charged our battery just yet. Now, I was looking at the roll bar here off camera for a split second and wondering how the lights would get attached to this, to these LEDs, or up to these buckets. And it looks like this bottom half gets unscrewed right here and right here to remove, to loosen up our light buckets from the roll bar. And if we look at our roll bar, one side is solid right here, but the other side over here on the driver's side of the vehicle has this slit running right up the middle of this bar, and a little bit of a pocket in here, right there. And this side is solid over here. So you take this apart, and apparently you can insert the LEDs into here. It's like one big unit that would fit into here. And then the wires would run out right through here and right down the center tube of this roll bar, right through here, right through that little groove. And I'm assuming through the body somewhere. But it would be right over here in this corner, and I don't see any holes drilled out in the body in that area. Or maybe you would just cut a hole over here in the center, on the side, and run the wire through. I'm not too sure, but there is definitely a groove right here to run that wire right through the center of the roll cage here. So that is pretty cool. That is pretty cool. Or the roll bar, that roll cage. So that's neat. I'm glad we discovered that. Okay, we're going to get our mirror glue down here and charge up our battery. And in the meantime, we'll be right back. Moving around over here to the different side of a bench, workbench, and checking out our USB charger and plugging it in here. This is a 2 amp 5 volt USB charger. How do you figure that out? You can read on the side of the chargers, and if you can get your camera to zoom in on or put on some reading glasses, you can see output voltages in certain areas. And this one is a 5 volt 2 amp. If we can get our camera to focus in on it, I don't know if we are not. Too much glare maybe. 5 volt and 2 amp. So we're going to plug into this one. The back of this charger actually says input USB 3 amp 5 volts. So not quite enough of an input on it, I don't think, but it should do the job. So looking at here, one red light equals ready to charge. If we have a red light and a flashing green light, that means that it needs to get charged, or it's a low battery. And then if we have a red light and a green light solid, then the battery should be charged. So we're plugging this thing in, and of course 50-50 shot on whether I got that plugged in the right way, and it was plugged in the wrong way. every time. Well, let's see, we got to raise up our cameras a wee bit here. All right, so we're plugging it in, and we've got a solid red light right there saying that it's ready, essentially. And then we're going to plug our battery into our connector over here and see where this is sitting at. All right, so it's flashing green here. So that means that it's a low battery and that it's charging. So we're going to let that charge until it goes solid green and solid red, as indicated over here on this side, and it should be good to go. All right, it hasn't been all that long, maybe a half hour later, and we have a solid green and a solid red light here indicating that our battery is actually charged. Moving on over to our TRX4, nothing inside the manual. I scoured the manual on the whole binding process, but we do have a QR code reader here to download a manual. So I'm downloading the full manual to my phone as we speak, or to one of my devices as we speak, and I think it's just finished downloading right there. So we'll take a look at that and see what it says about binding the model. and still need to put some double A's in the vehicle or inside the transmitter as well. No cross wrench included, no toolkit included. The high quality toolkit wasn't included in all the stuff that our channel subscriber had given us. So I was trying to find what size it was for our wheel nuts right over here, and these are a 5mm. So luckily I end up having this hardware kit or wrench kit laying around. And the reason I was checking these out is because the tires were on backwards. The tires are facing the wrong direction. As we can see here, tread's facing the wrong direction. In my opinion, it is. So I figured we'd swap these tires around a little bit here. We'll take a peek at the manual here in a moment. Don't want to lose those little itty bitty nuts. Hear the BBs down in there rolling around. I don't know if it's BBs or lead shotgun shot that is in there. Looks like we have plastic wheel hexes, and once again I can see a bronze bushing in behind there. So don't like the bushings. I think Traxxas kind of cheaped out a little bit on some of these things, especially for how much money they're asking for the vehicle. This one was $174, and the newer ones are $179, and no bearings in any of them. The ring and pinion gears are made of plastic. The differential gears and the transmission, or not the differential gears, but the transmission gears are made of plastic. The ring and pinion gears are the differential gears. We'll swap these tires around here. Maybe they had them reversed for a reason. Maybe they work better in the reversed direction. Who's to say? Being very careful with these small wheel nuts, making sure not to lose them. And making sure not to over tighten anything. Once it snugs down, we're good. Pretty good sized tire there. All in all, let's take that back off of here and maybe put it up against an SCX24. I have 54mm tires on my SCX24, and these are 64. 10 millimeters larger in outer diameter. That's a pretty big difference on that. Not too sure if my vehicle could even clear these monsters. Those are pretty big. Probably be a good upgrade for the vehicle, though, with the ground clearance and approach angles. Kind of turns the Jeep into a monster Jeep, though, at that point. So they're a 2.2 inch or 64mm. Once again, I ordered some parts for the vehicle, new ring and pinion. Unfortunately, one thing I didn't like about the Trx4Ms when it came to shopping for aftermarket parts were the ring and pinions are sold in sets. So if you're looking for two different gear ratios, you want to run an overdrive on the front and possibly an underdrive on the rear, they don't sell those separately. They'll sell you two of the same gear in one package and two of the same gear in another package, which basically means that you've got enough to do two trucks. So I'll have enough to put the other gears inside that Trx4 Bronco or the Trx4M Bronco that I purchased as well. I don't know why I spun that around. I should have took the wheel off on the other side. So that was one thing that I don't like about how they sold those in sets like that. On the SCX24s, you can just buy them individually. That comes down to the parts manufacturer. That's got nothing to do with the vehicle. Whoever's manufacturing the parts needs to have them available like that. That way you're not forced into buying two sets just to do one vehicle. You end up with enough parts to do two vehicles. Once again, I hope that viewer isn't upset that I bought a Trx4M Bronco. It's not the same thing as this. This is a high trail once again, and the other one is just the standard edition. I think it'll be interesting to see the differences between the high trail and the standard edition. I know it's not new. These things have been out once again for a while, so I'm sure, all these bases have been covered already by other people. And I certainly don't want to take anything away from them. But for my channel subs, we'll check everything out. All right, so there we go. Our tires are all swapped around there. We've got them going in the right direction. Our mirror is currently gluing. Our battery is charged and ready to go in here. We're going to look at our manual here online. I'm going to scroll through some of this information for the Trx4m High Trail and see if we can find how to bind it. All right, so way down here on page 16, I found our binding instructions. It says it's done by the factory or done at the factory, but if it ever falls out of bind, then you can follow these instructions. The vehicle has to be within 5 feet of each other, or the vehicle and the transmitter. Press and hold the set button on the transmitter. Turn the transmitter on and release the set button. The status LED will flash red slowly, indicating that the transmitter is in bind mode. And then press and hold the Easy Set button on the ECM or your electronic control module as you plug in the battery. Release the Easy Set button once the status LED flashes red. The status LED will flash red slowly, indicating that the ECM is in bind mode. When the LEDs on both the transmitter and the ECM turn solid green, the system is bound and ready to use. Confirm that the steering and throttle will operate properly before driving your model. We need to press and hold the set button as we turn the transmitter on. So we're going to press and hold that. And that starts flashing red, indicating that it's in bind mode once again. And we're going to press and hold the Easy Set button on our ESC, which is right back here, at the same time as that we're plugging in the battery. And this one should be doing the same darn thing here. Okay, it's flashing. I just turned it, let off on it, and they both went green immediately. Steering is turning to the right, full pull. Steering is turning to the left, full pull. Here are the BBs rolling inside the tires. Transmission and motor seems a little bit on the noisy side. Might be a little bit tight in here. Maybe needs a little bit of udder butter or a little bit of grease in there inside the transmission. He did once again put the lower gear set in here. I want to go into this ESC here real quick and change up our parameters on our ESC and make sure that we have this in crawl mode. And then we'll go from there. So let's go into our ESC and change up our parameters real quick here. Checking out our manual here on setting up our ECM, electronic control module, which is right here. They're saying that to set this up, depending on what mode you want it on 1, 2, or 3, we want it on crawl mode, which is going to be 3 red flashes here. Sorry about the flash being on and any kind of glare that we have going on there. Oh, it's even worse. So we want 3 red flashes to get into crawl mode. What we have to do is turn on the vehicle with our ESC turned on, our ECM turned on. We have to press and hold our set button, and this is going to start to flash. Our little red light is going to start to flash. 1 red would be the 1 mode. If you wanted it in 1, then you would let off the button. When it goes to 2 flashes, if you want it in that mode, then let off the button. We're going to hold it until it flashes 3 times to make sure that we're in crawl mode. So turning on our transmitter, getting our transmitter turned back on here. Let's get our camera pan back. Always making sure that you turn your transmitter on first. We'll get our battery set inside the vehicle. In whatever way we think it's going to be the best position for the battery cable. Get this plugged in, and it's turned on immediately as soon as we plug that in. So we're going to hold this down and release it on the 3rd flashing red. 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and we're releasing it. So that should be crawl mode. And that's where we're going to leave it at. All right, we're going to unplug her. Go set our vehicle outside. Let it start cooling down and acclimating to the outdoor temperatures. And then we will go see how it does in the snow on some frozen snowbanks. One quick little mental note here before we go put our vehicle outside and start acclimating it. Right now I'm waiting for the mirror to finish gluing. I put a dab of glue on the mirror, and I kind of want to let that sit in the heat here in the warm temperature for a little bit. and get that somewhat seated into place before we really set this outside. I figured right now, while we're kind of waiting for this to finish drying up, while we're here, I'm going to pull these little spacers off of our rear shocks back here, just to make these a little bit softer. The springs, in my opinion, are just way too stiff back here and way too stiff up front. So I'm gonna have to go online and see what kind of shock springs Traxxas offers for this truck and see if we can get some softer shock springs. So these are easy to remove, they're easy to install. Just pinch on the little pull tab and pull it out, and they just snap right out of there. So we're going to take our two little shock collars and we're going to put them into a plastic bag with the trailer hitch and the trailer hitch screws. I found a snap lock parts bag that we can put all that stuff into and not have to worry about losing any of that material. Grab our little spacers and put them in there. And then I'm rolling this thing up and vacuum sealing it. All right, so there we go. Creating a little storage container for the Trx4m F150 using some old sandwich meat storage containers, washed out, of course, which make great stackable containers to hold parts. All right, so we're going to let this mirror glue up here for a few more minutes, and we'll get our vehicle outside and let it start cooling down. And we're also going to install our roll bar onto the back of the truck, but you guys don't necessarily need to see that. Just 4 little hex screws here that need to get removed. Pretty simple installation, getting this into the back of the bed of the vehicle. Just like so. I suppose it wouldn't be a video if we didn't display everything. So, small hex wrench here to get these screws removed. That is a 1.5 millimeter. Remove the screws from the roll bar. And we'll set the roll bar into the back of the bed of the truck, which has 4 mounting hole screws, which are very easy to see and recognize. We're going to very carefully get our 4 screws started before we tighten any one of them down all the way. Making sure that we're not cross-threading anything here. Screwing in the plastic once again. Don't get too carried away with how far you tighten things down. I'll run this in just a little bit further. Just take some of the slop out of it. One reason that you don't want to tighten it down all the way is to leave things a little bit loose. That way it makes it easier for fitting other screws in there and getting it all put together. If you guys can see this or not, but it's a little bit out of balance here. Holes don't quite line up. Need to push my finger on the roll bar to get this to line up a little bit better. Once again, I'm trying not to damage that mirror on the other side, which is still drying. And hoping you guys can see what's going on there. Putting the last screw onto the head of the bit there, the driver. And crossing my fingers that this is going in straight, which it is. And just tightening these up by hand with this hex bit here, just until it stops. Calling it good. Not moving parts. They don't need to be tightened down too much. There we go. We have our roll bar installed, which should make the truck look a little bit more to the part. The camera's up pretty high here. It's not, our body's not snapped in. But it looks a little bit better, I think, having the roll bar on there. Especially for the era. Not bad looking. Good looking truck. Now, I haven't taken the truck outside to start acclimating yet. I did a little bit more work with the roll bar. I didn't like the way the roll bar was sitting in here. It's not necessarily the roll bar's fault. The roll bar was straight. It's just the cab of the truck slants forward right here. And it makes it look like the roll bar is leaning backwards. But it's not. The roll bar is straight with the bed of the truck. It's just that the back of the cab is leaning forward. So a little bit of an optical illusion right there. You can really see it in the picture, how bad it's leaning back right there, or how bad it appears to be leaning back. Now that's something that's bugging me. I might end up taking this roll bar out of here. I did take a black plastic spacer and put it in just underneath the back right here on either side. Loosened everything up and put a spacer in between the roll bar and the bed of the truck. And that raised it up just a little bit there. But still, not too sure how I feel about that roll bar. Once again, I think a pickup camper on the back of here, or a camper top on the back of here, or like a Bronco, something that we could kind of make it look like a Bronco would be a better design, or possibly even a tonneau cover, drop-in tonneau cover or something like that would be kind of cool as well. But not too sure how I feel about that roll bar. We might end up taking that thing out of there. One thing that's nice about it is good rollover protection from the cab of the truck to keep it protected. But I just want to kind of make a mental note about that roll bar. All right, before we take this thing outside, I want to measure the shocks on this thing and see how long the shocks are. I don't believe that they said on the box how long the shocks were. We're still waiting for that mirror to make sure that it's good and dried down, or good and dried up here before we take it out. Make sure our glue is good to go. It seems to be okay, but we'll just let it sit for a little bit more. Just to be safe. So I'm curious on how many millimeters our shocks are from eyelet to eyelet. So let's take one of these things off, or our tires off, and measure one of these rear shocks. That would be our best option for getting a nice straight shot at the shock with a ruler. And see how many millimeters that is. Once again, using a 5 millimeter nut driver here to remove this wheel nut. Oh, I'm about to drop it too. Magnetic tool tray is best for these small items. Pulling off our wheel. Pulling out a set of dial calipers. Digital, set for millimeters. Go from center to center on our screw holes here. And looks like we're right around 52 millimeters. 52.13 on this one. Center to center on our screw heads. Around 52. Could be wrong. 51, 52. We could have some variances. It depends on how far the shock shaft here is screwed into the eyelet here on the bottom. That also affects things as well. You can get just a little bit more travel out of that depending on how far that's screwed in. So 52.10 is what we're getting off of that, according to those specifications. And we're back to 0, so we know it was right. All right, so there we go. A little idea of how long those shocks are. I need to write that down. 52 millimeters. That kind of freaked me out. I picked up the tire and heard the BBs, felt the BBs rolling around in there. I thought I dropped a nut or something. Thought I dropped a wheel nut there all of a sudden. The BB's rolling around on the inside. Threw me for a loop. Don't know if we're going to want those in there when we're out here playing around in the snow. It is currently snowing outside. It wasn't earlier, but now it is. I'm trying to get this nut started, and it's giving me a little bit of a hassle. There we go. Sorry for the lengthy video, but this is, unboxing on a gift from a channel subscriber once again. We're going to let our mirror dry a little bit further here, and then we'll set this vehicle outside in the cold weather and get it acclimating. I know I've been saying that here for a few minutes. We'll get it outside and acclimating to the cold temperatures. That way everything is equal to the cold temperatures, and we'll see how she does.